Bonjour mes amis, et bienvenue en Pendu dans la Lune. Hello friends, if this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my series in which I use Tarot de Marseille to answer questions that I pull from my larger Rider-Waite-Smith based tarot spread, which I've done already this week. This week's Rider-Waite-Smith based spread was titled Release the Minutiae. Yeah, let the details go. And from that spread, I pulled a question. Yeah, in that spread this week, it was very interesting. The Hierophant card showed up. A Hierophant card, I think you probably know if you are familiar with Rider-Waite-Smith, is usually not very well received by many readers. It's seen as the negative side of authority figures and that kind of thing. And it arose in answer to the question, what am I attracted to? So as I was reading that, the question arose in my mind, what does the Hierophant have to do with the overarching question of the spread, which was rising above and seeing the truth from a bird's eye view? So I decided to pull that card and that question out to explore with Tarot de Marseille. So if you want to see that video, I will have a card up here that you can click on and hop over to that larger exploration of getting our lives detached from the ends of our noses and clearing off the debris so that we can live in the light of truth. It was a very, very interesting spread. I recommend taking a look at it. But now we're pulling one question, one small question from that larger spread, which was, and I'm reading it now, what does the Rider-Waite-Smith Hierophant teach us about seeing the truth from a bird's eye view? Now, part of that spread was rising above the details, getting a bird's eye perspective of our lives, seeing the breadth and depth of our experiences and where we are and where we're heading. So, what does the Hierophant have to do with any of that? That is my question. What does the Rider-Waite-Smith Hierophant, not the Tarot de Marseille Pope, but the Rider-Waite-Smith Hierophant, teach us about seeing the truth from a bird's eye view? So, in just a moment, I will show you that question in written form. Then I will show you the cards, the 3 cards that I pulled from a wonderful deck, and we'll dive in together. And here it is now. These 3 cards are from a redrawing of the Nicolas Conver deck from 1760. The redrawing was done by a wonderful new group. They're still new, I think, at least to me, they're still new, called Artisan Tarot. And their decks are wonderful redrawings of classical Tarot de Marseille so far. They might branch off into other things in the future, but right now, the 3 decks that I know of and that I have ordered, and 2 of them are in my possession, are Tarot de Marseille, the Nicolas Conver and the Jean Noblet. I'm looking forward to the Dodal, which should be coming out soon, almost momentarily. But this is from the Conver deck. And if you're interested in purchasing this deck, there will be a link below. I've also done a walkthrough of the deck, which you can see, and I'll try to remember to put a card or a link or something. I'm not sure if I can put 2 cards up here, but I'll try and put a link to that somewhere here so you can see a walkthrough of that. And it's a wonderful deck. I highly recommend it. It's available. Go get it. So, commercial over, and let's look at the cards. So again, the question is, what does the Rider-Waite-Smith Hierophant teach us about seeing the truth from a bird's eye view, from a bird's eye perspective, yeah, up above the details and the minutiae of our lives? And I half expected to see the Pope card show up in this spread, but it didn't. And that was interesting. It was also interesting that, as you saw, the first card was Le Monde, the world. And it's interesting in this spread, but it's also interesting because the world was in that larger spread that I did yesterday, that I uploaded yesterday. And the world card showed up in what can I receive more fully? Now, the world card answered the question, what can I receive more fully in that spread? So it's interesting that it showed up as not only in this spread, but as the first card of this spread. The world. The world. So what does it mean in the Tarot de Marseille context? I don't read them exactly the same. Similar. Yeah, a lot of the trumps in Tarot de Marseille and the Rider-Waite-Smith are very, very similar. But there might be some slight nuances, some slight differences, even though the images are very, very similar. So the world, completion, fulfillment, wisdom and unity. It's also realization of potential, success, yeah? That potential being realized, the success, the fullness. It's a description of even a cosmic egg, even in the shape, yeah? You see that wreath around the human figure. It's kind of like the cosmic egg, kind of like the, not the Ouroboros, the Omphalos. It's ultimate perfection. It's the end of the journey. All of this, we've been through it all. We've evolved and we've reached ultimate perfection of this stage of our lives. It's maximal expansion. Now we've grown to the size of the world, of our world. We've grown to the size of our world. Not everybody else's world, our worlds. And something new is ready to be born. This figure in the middle of this egg, like all creatures in the middle of eggs, are ready to be born. Now, ready to crack open and start the new journey. Now, what does that have to do with the Hierophant? Okay, well, so the Hierophant, to me, in these spreads, is pointing to spiritual, religious also, but also spiritual traditions, spiritual wisdom and teachings that we will receive from what we perceive as an outside source, from books, from actual people, from traditions, from our family traditions, from traditions of our spiritual lineage or religious traditions. All of that stuff that we receive experientially from other sources, from what appears to be the outside, that's what that Hierophant card is. Also leadership. So, the World card here, completion and fulfillment. Yeah, the fulfillment of our spiritual path. I think the card, the Hierophant, is here to show us that we are the culmination, we are the fulfillment of our spiritual path as far as we've gone at this moment. And remembering that this isn't a dead end. This isn't the end of anything. This is a new beginning. And the Hierophant is ready to teach us that every moment of every step of our journey along the path, the spiritual path. And it's that spiritual path that we see from the bird's eye view. That is the ultimate truth of us as eternal beings having a physical human experience. It is a spiritual path. This stuff is spiritual stuff. This chair is spirit in physical form. These clothes are spirit manifest. This body is spirit co-created. And that's what the Hierophant is here to teach us. Not as an idea of finish lines and laurel wreaths of you won, you're the winner, you've completed, you've finished, but the ever continuing completion point that we carry throughout our lives. Completion start, completion beginning, Every moment of every day is that completion beginning moment. And that's what the Hierophant is here to show us. And you'll notice that while the figure in the World card is turning towards the left, does this look left to you? Is turning towards the left. Their bodies are pointing towards the right. They look back to the past and they move towards the future. If we consider the left past and the right future, they're looking into the past, receiving what they have completed, getting a bird's eye view of what they have experienced as they move into the future. Dancing in the clouds. And so, they are moving towards first the Seven of Wands. The Seven of Wands is, for me, it's the bursting forth into our community of the element. Now the sevens for me are bursting forth, are bursting out into the community. Like teaching, showing, sharing, that kind of bursting out. So humanitarian projects could be part of it. The Hierophant would definitely teach us to work for humanitarian aid, for humanitarian purposes. Remember, when we think of the Pope in the tradition of the Roman Catholic Church, we're not just talking about the dogmatic leader of the present day church. We're also talking about the historical beginnings of the chair, the seat of Peter, the Pope's chair in the Roman Catholic Church, which was a humanitarian aid position. The Pope was the one who stepped in and took over, well, not took over so much as stepped in and filled the need when the Roman Empire was collapsing. Now, when the elite, when the senators, when all the moneyed people fled the city to the countryside, it was the Pope who came in and fed the hungry, clothed the naked, took care of the widows and children. The popes and their bishops and their priests were the ones who went out and did the humanitarian work that was needed at the beginnings of their careers. And those positions changed over time as the Roman Catholic Church gained more power and more prestige and more money. But the Hierophant card, if we think of that as also the nascent Hierophant, the nascent Pope, was a humanitarian worker originally. So also good leadership. Now the original popes were good leaders. They were taking care of people. And this is a card of perhaps more enthusiasm than usual. Yeah, that fire bursting forth. Also open, cracked open and revealing this ourselves to others, revealing our passions to others. It's also, what is the word? It's irresistible action, the action that cannot be resisted. For me, it's creative blossoming in service of others. And all of those things remind me of the beginnings of the seat of St. Peter in the Roman Catholic Church around 300, 400. When the seat was really clarified, I should say. When the seat was clarified and the position was made clear. Who is the Pope? What does the Pope do? What is the Pope in charge of? What can the Pope accomplish in the world? As the father of priests, as the father of bishops. So all of that, humanitarian projects, openness, irresistible action, creative blossoming in service of others, blossoming creatively to serve. That's all Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is right next to the Eight of Cups. Nice little progression, right? We go 7 to 8. And the Eight of Cups for me is unconditional love. Gratitude. Yeah, that the fulfillment of love, not the end, not the last, the 10 of Cups, but the fulfillment, the blossoming, the fullness of stability, 4 on 4, stability on stability in absolute bounty. That's what the 8s mean to me. And so unconditional love, gratitude, unity of self and other, which is very Pope-ish, really, if we think of the original idea of what a Pope is. Yeah? Unconditional love. Unity of self and other. Now that spiritual bond of church leader and church member. Just as every cell in our body is a unity. Also love of the planet, the universe, our neighbors, ourselves. Not only unconditional love of me and you, but of everything that is, because we know that everything that is the incarnation of Spirit. Because we are love. We are love. Love is not just something we do, it's something we are. Harmony, we are harmony. We are the peace of heart and balance and grace. All of that Eight of Cups-ness. And union with the divine. Yeah? It's divine love and incarnate love all blended together in one beautiful unity of love. So what we have here, again, we've got that world, that completion beginning, that bursts forth in creativity, in service of others, and is radiant with love. And I think that's what the Hierophant can teach us. If we allow the Hierophant to teach us anything, the Hierophant can teach us that as we rise above to get a bird's eye view, instead of the details of this one needs a shirt, that one needs a crutch, that one needs bread, and where do we have enough bread to give that to that one and that one? The details, which are important. We're not saying that the details are not important, but if we're bogged down in details and are not able to rise up to view the wholeness, the totality of the experience that we are in, we're missing the fullness of presence in the moment. So we want to rise up to experience fully who we are, and where we're going. And if we do that, with the Hierophant's teachings in mind, we do it beautifully. Now we serve others. We share love. We express love. We are love for others. We teach love, not by scolding or blaming or dictating or expounding on it, but rather by living it. And breaking free of that laurel of the egg, the cosmic egg, to be that. Does that make sense? Can you see how the Hierophant can be pointing to this spiritual blossoming? And a blossoming that is so much more possible when we are able to elevate from or rise above the details. Not rise above like I'm above it all. It's not a snooty kind of, I don't want to get involved in that kind of, not that kind of rising above. Now that's a very negative, rejecting kind of rising above. There's a very different kind of rising above that we're talking about here. It's the rising above to see the fullness. And the Hierophant can teach us one very important aspect of that. And I think the Pope in the Tarot de Marseille decks can also teach us a very similar aspect of that. Because we're so, I think, we have such conditioned responses to what we believe we see when we see a Roman Catholic Pope in the present day. And we think of the Roman Catholic popes during the time of the Inquisition, for example. And yet, if we can rise above all of that and see the trajectory of what often all too human popes really can do in the world and be in the world, then we can see the beauty of the potential of that card. Instead of getting bogged down in the details of the authoritarianism. Does that make sense? So the Hierophant teaches us to rise above, and it also reminds us to rise above in order to understand the Hierophant. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful meaning. And one that we can remember in other moments when the Hierophant appears in readings. What is that positive meaning of the Hierophant? So friends, that's where we are. What do you think? Does that make sense to you? Does it not make sense to you? If you're still here, hit that like button so that I know that you have walked this path with me. And those likes help the channel. They give sustenance to the channel. It's not just my personally feeling a pat on my back, but in the algorithms and all of that stuff that I don't really understand, I know that it does help the channel. So hit that like button if you can, and you feel called to. I'm not trying to dictate on you, just a request. And also, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, subscribe. And hit the alarm bell and click the notifications for all so that you get notifications of when I upload videos. I do about 2 or more a week. Also, share this with anybody who you think might get benefit from it on any of the other platforms. And also, comment below. I would really love to hear from you. Does this make sense? Does it not make sense? What does make sense and what are you feeling resistant to? I'd love to engage. And friends, if you're interested in a private reading, a personal reading from me, I'll have a link below so you can go over to my Instagram account and send me a message there. And also there's a link below for this deck if you want to purchase it. Just remember that. I don't get any monetary remuneration if you use that link. It's just for your convenience. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.